Top Esports as the clear favorite in this matchup, looking for a 2-0 for a team that is desperate for a Worlds appearance after a disappointing split 2. Already into the bans here with FPX on the blue side. You see some staple LPL champions taken away. Jwei and Pantheon in particular have seen quite heavy bans so far through split 2. And if they're not banned, they're getting picked. But TES definitely honoring some pretty powerful B1 picks, making sure FunPlus Phoenix can't gobble them up.
That is crazy, by the way, that FPX on blue side are banning Rumble and Varus. These feel like red side bans to me. Even the Gwen, yes, it is very popular for sheer, but I feel more than confident in 369 ability to actually pilot a champion like Jax or even the Galio like we have seen. So I wonder what the first pick here for FPX is going to be. Are they going to be leaning on comfort? It seems like they really want to make sure that IYY, again, this new jungler coming in from the LDL, he has comfort, and they're going to make sure that he has initiation with this champion.
We'll always leave up some pretty powerful turns here, as the Taliyah has been one of the most hotly picked Game 1 mid laners, I would say, as well, to get a lot of those mid laners in a comfort spot. Creme obviously is very potent piloting this champion. So automatically TES locking in this Taliyah, showing that they want to have a lot of global presence on the map. And that once again all leads into the fact that we expect them to be aggressive, trying to play from the early mid game. And there you go, Kanavi locking in the Xin Zhao. This is already a pretty potent mid-jungle duo to try and get on the map early and be effective.
The skirmishing is going to be tight here from Top Esports, but something in my mind that I'm looking at for FPX is making sure that Care is on a comfort champion. Annie was actually something that popped up a lot earlier in a couple of years ago where he was kind of one of the few mid laners still playing it. This does mean that FPX, their go button is very solid. You have Wukong, you have Alistar, you have Annie here. She's going to be incredibly good at being able to actually shove Creme underneath his turret. So in my mind, what I'm thinking about now from the side of Top Esports is we've banned away the Trundle. We're going to take this Scion now. We're going to make it actually incredibly difficult for this Annie and Wukong to get very much value. Now we start to see what these 80 carries are going to get pinched on, because you're thinking about Kai'Sa. You're kind of thinking about maybe even potentially pulling out Jhin later on in the comp here for FPX.
So Kai'Sa is a great shout, especially knowing that JiaQi made, I think, his biggest highlight plays from his RNG time on this Kai'Sa. LPL Kai'Sa, you can always throw that meme out as well. Yeah. My question to you all, as we start to see some top lane bans fly, what type of AD carry do you think JackeyLove goes with? Because with the Scion here, you mentioned the Sivir. I feel like the space created by TES is comp already. If you want to get that scaler, a JackeyLove Sivir game might be in the cards here for Game 1.
I think Sivir's fine. My only issue is trying to play Sivir into Alistar and also Wukong. Sounds pretty miserable in my mind, especially with how low range she can be. I have to think that when we look at supports, maybe something like a Leona kind of pops out to me. Urel would be very miserable this game, but definitely tries to make sure that they can keep FPX clumped up. In terms of AD carries, I still think Jhin is fine here. It allows for JackeyLove to kind of play a little bit longer range, and it allows for Kanavi and 369 to maybe have a little bit more freedom in the river when you have that deadly flourish from such a long range coming through.
I like these bans from FPX, though, getting rid of some of the non-committal engage champions next to the Scion, the Xin Zhao, the Nautilus. With that depth charge, can fire that out, be a bit non-committal, and the Rakan ever so slippery. But this is what we were talking about with Top Esports and the scaling AD carry factor. You like to see a JackeyLove-led bottom lane get aggressive, try to take it to the new FPX bottom lane, and they're going to lock in the Lucian. We'll see what the answer looks
disabled.
Like
She's
here.
disabled, everybody. I'm sorry to scare everybody. Yunara is definitely disabled.
Not yet. We're not time.
Yeah, this is most likely just going to be Braum, in my opinion, coming in from Top Esports. Like, you're getting a Braum on 5. I think it's great versus the Annie. And so far, FPX, where's the damage?
Yeah,
in the first 25-30 minutes, we are not going to be seeing very much death. I think what this does actually is make IYY a bit of a carry. This feels very similar to that Viego game we saw from them in game number 3 of their series versus Weibo. You have a Senna, you're going to lose out on wave priority. I think that right now, we need to be making sure that the bottom lane is going to be so safe. So watching how Kara and IYY walk around this map is going to be pivotal in my mind.
I am worried for this comp already. The Cassante is fine, but into a Scion, you're handshaking, letting 369 really stack up health, have a pretty safe lane. Also allow for the Scion to weak side if you want to force an early swap towards the top side for JackeyLove and that Braum, like you called out from Hong. So, I don't know. Really big fan of what TES have put together. I think they have enough ability to create space with the fact you have the Crescent Guard. Talia's always pesky for a dash-based champion like Wukong to go through. A Scion's going to have a ton of health. It's going to be on JackeyLove, though, to really bring the damage, like you see with a lot of TES comps nonetheless. Luckily, as you pointed out, though, JackeyLove Power Spike comes a lot quicker with the solution, very fast compared to a scaling Senna and an Annie that needs to get a couple items under her belt before the stun becomes a deadly stun combination.
I hope for Care that this is a electrocute Annie. I do not want to see Rod of Ages. I don't want to see Leandries. These kinds of items might do work up against a Scion, and eventually this Xin Zhao is a health stacker, but making sure we can one-shot Creme, one-shot JackeyLove is important in my mind. And what we see from this top esports composition, and something that I'll be tracking as we go throughout this game one, you have a Senna Alistar lane that you're playing up against. Lucian's going to be fine by himself. I need to be seeing Hung and Kanavi get into IYY's jungle, start taking jungle camps, put down vision, stop FPX before they can even get running, and make it impossible for them to ever make a play without perfect information here for TES.
And then you add in the fact that you have this Talia in the mid lane, the Weaver's Wall, right? You have so much more agency on the map with that ultimate. I'm right there with you all. This should be a staple TES game where they take over the map, snowball in the LPL fashion, and run away with this thing. Luckily for top esports fans, they're trying this comp in Game 1, where they have been historically very good at closing out games and executing on draft compositions. So luckily, we don't have to get to the scary Game 2 just yet for TES.
Well, let's get those Jios ready as we head into game number 1.
公牛角力，你会尝到牛角的滋。
You know what's so funny all about the Jios? I mentioned that I did, full group Nirvana my first day back for Split 3. The first series, which was the Ultra Prime Thunder Talk one, sat there with the Bloxer for 10 seconds waiting for them. Didn't come in. But the NIP series, I talked over them because I wasn't expecting them. And they were louder than the ones we just got there for TES, if I'm being honest.
Well, to be fair to NIP, they literally have a home arena. Okay, so I want to cut their fans some slack, but yeah, we've for some of the earlier series, especially, the fans have been just keep holding on to their Jios. Maybe they're storing themselves a little bit of power. We saw an early trade onto Jwei as he got found out on the bottom side jungle. Currently, wards on both Raptors and junglers are heading to opposite sides of the map right now.
It's going to allow for Kanavi to pass towards that bot side. IYY, like you called out, especially early with this composition, Wukong's going to need a bit of time to get comfortable with these full clears, but then want to find a way to inject gold into this Wukong. This former LDL prospect, just a split ago, into a comfortable spot here. TES are going to rely on the uncomfortable early and often. Luckily, though, for this FPX bottom lane, they've actually been able to snag control of the wave and get to level 2 comfortably. And every wave they can buy themselves comfortable space with the Senna is a win.
Right now, what FPX are trying to accomplish, or what TES are trying to accomplish, is this wave is going to stack on their side of the map. You see how many minions they have, especially with the next mini wave coming in. I think on 3rd and 4th wave, they're going to be looking for a bounce. All the damage that they're able to get onto JiaQi now is key for when Kanavi is going to be in the area at this moment. So, be looking at how TES can kind of move and use this pressure. Very light note before we move on. Care is going for the phase rush, so does mean he's going to have a little bit more movement speed. Will give him some abilities to actually escape a concussive blows from the Braum, maybe Kanavi getting a bit of a slow, but is going to be lacking more of that damage you get from another combat keystone.
That's a big problem. I know you called out. You wanted to see the electrocute, so Care does not go for that. You see JackeyLove and Hung starting to get a bit of fight down here. The concussive blows obviously going to help with those trades as they bring in this 3rd wave. First cannon wave coming across here. This should really open up Kanavi if he wants to get some advancing wards down in that enemy jungle of IYY, but for now, gonna skip the grab here. You see the flash from Jwei, headbutt combination. JackeyLove gets thrown under his turret without even knowing what happens. Well, luckily, Bird's Wolf Summoners get back and they have Kanavi here to cover. So Jwei, who's a valiant heroic play on the Alistar, but just did not calculate for Kanavi to be in the area. That's first blood over to JackeyLove.
Oh, it's so close, though. I mean, look at how low HP JackeyLove is right now. JiaQi trying to stand forward, but this might be still a dive. They instead call it off. IYY visits down into mid lane, Creme preemptively flashes just in case the Wukong was going to go forward there. A lot of summoner spells traded by Top Esports for one single kill. I think it's pretty worth, even with Jwei losing his life.
The win, though, there for TES is that Snowball Lucian gets rolling early, and hey, the perks of dying there, or the perks of getting that skirmish down, is that you can now force this swap upward to the top side. This is what we kind of talked about with these two tanks for 369 and Sheer. It means they are very easily malleable in the sense that you can throw them into any lane and they'll be fine, even in a 1 versus 2. We'll see 369 take his reset and head towards a bot wave that is set up to crash back towards him by the time he gets down there.
What are these lane allocations right now? There's nothing to play for on the top side of the map. You have Dragon in 15. We had JiaQi move into mid lane to take control, then Care ended up TPing, so this is really problematic. No one's catching this bottom lane wave. It's going to be a while before Sheer ends up teleporting here. You can see that JackeyLove and Hung, instead of pushing out the wave, they're going to deny resources from this Senna. Really like this punishment coming out from Top Esports, and maybe FPX not sure about what allocations they wanted, making sure that someone is going to pick up a mid-wave, but I think it's still pretty punishing in their eyes.
Something you highlighted in our pre-show there, Alk, is that you wanted to see FPX prove how they move around the map. Especially going to be difficult with that rookie jungler as JiaQi and Jwei get pushed in with this wave. It's going to set up for some vision clear. And we'll see where the neutral priorities lie. Kanavi is path clearing second through on his bot side camps. That Dragon is up. I think we're towards the back of the pit, so FPX would have an idea if Kanavi wants to try and go for a solo Drake take that we see so many of these jugglers on those bruisers go for.
Every other lane kind of even, though. There is a really big advantage starting to crop up for Care versus Creme. He's got about a third of a level over his opponent. He's got a full wave and a half over this Taliyah, thanks to getting that flash out from him early. And when you are playing this Annie, specifically with this ultimate, with how low cooldown it is, already having the Lucidity boots, Care can just drop tippers on top of the wave, push it in favor of him, and make it difficult for Creme to ever match on a side lane, especially with the movement speed that Care is going to have access to alongside the Molten Shield. So, kind of interesting that I think not only with the mid matchup going in favor of FPX, Top Esports get their pick of the litter here. They get to control the top lane wave, and they still grab the Dragon. You have the Grub spawning in a minute and a half. It's very realistic that they could also make a play for that.
Yeah, IYY spends about 10 seconds there just sitting in Tribe Rush, trying to see if there's somewhat of a dive angle on a JackeyLove still without flash coming up, but Hong doing a really good job winning the information game, sniffs that one out, and like you mentioned, fizzles out any way to control the wave or even go for this dive, and IYY luckily gets the Scuttle Crab spawning, but outside of that, not a lot of useful time there. Dragon drops, Kanavi goes right up to clear his top side camps, and as you talked about, should set TES up on a pretty good timer to start these grubs up on their own accord, so FPX already starting to kind of scramble, fall behind the mark on the map, up against one of the Titans of the LPL.
Hung does have teleport, so with 30 seconds left on this, more than likely just going to deploy back out onto the map at the same time alongside one of his laners. He's going to be right next to his jungler instead. I'm a bit worried here for FPX. I know that in the early game, we did say that they were the slower team in comparison. They do want this game to go long. The fact that they lost the first Dragon isn't great, but is kind of a nature of how the bot lane matchups kind of fail out. And now with the bottom lane pair now sitting in top side here for FPX, they will be able to get an advantage in terms of pushing the wave. But with how close top lane is to the Grubs, Taliyah can very, very easily cheat over priority. It's going to be a lot harder for Care to actually properly move over here. So I like this setup from Top Esports, and let's see if FPX can be a little bit creative, because we actually haven't seen much of any kind of team fighting going on between these two.
JackeyLove going to tick over to level 6 there. Also has access to his cleanse and flash again. He's one of those vulnerable targets after the bot lane escapade. Gets a little bit more slippery. Creme's flash as well in the mid lane. Going to come up not too far after. So as these grubs spawn, the more time you buy here for TES, you're going to have summoner advantage. And as you called out, the mid lane priority there from the TES bottom lane, they're going to get that wave shoved under the turret. So FPX, you're going to drop a mid wave here, have to start the grubs, and IYY is going to make the call. We've got a bit of a death brush stacking up here. Care has tippers and the stun available. Long is going to sniff it out. IYY going to smite away the first grub here as Sheer has Jwei. There's the flash combo right on top of JackeyLove's head. Kanavi's head, he doesn't get a burn any summers. Goes down instantly. 369 going to be thrown back by the Nutofo, strikes all out, comes across here from Sheer as well. 369 has to flash over the wall as Timbers holds the rest of TES at bay. Dawing Shadow comes out. IYY's going to eat a stun. Great seismic jump comes out from Creme with a 3-man headbutt pulverized from Jwei. Sends everybody else packing, burning flashes, and finally the big Scion falls down. FPX not afraid of TES. Pick up 2 and get the grubs on the way out.
Like you said, Kanavi got a Tibbers dunked on him, and he had no room to ever get the Crescent Guard off there. A massive pick for Top Esports, getting 2 kills and all 3 of the grubs. This is massive for this team. Being able to play on the side lane, it is so difficult for Creme. If he does not have his flash, you're going to constantly be dealing with this Annie. And Cassante versus Scion is a very fun matchup for Sheer. He gets to bully the Scion even if he has an infinite amount of HP with the all-out. We check into this replay. I liked the beginning of this for Top Esports. Hung was staying around mid lane so that he could get his level 6. But this instantaneous kind of go in from FPX. Jwei following it up, and then we see it again once we get closer into the Raptor pit. Top Esports just a little too all over the place and second fiddle when it came to finding damage and finding targets in this fight.
Like you called out, here it is. Jwei's going to ride on in. What a start here for Jwei in this game 1. Split 2. One of our all-pro supports came out of nowhere. Obviously, it's hard to compete with #1 against the guy like Kyle, who showed out on the international stage. But
yeah,
to see Jwei pick up right where he left off, huge sign for an FPX roster that went through a couple of their switches going into this split.
He was the support with the most amount of player of the games after the regular season. And you might say, hey, he kind of was an eco merchant. I wouldn't disagree with you. But we continue to see Jwei really rise in terms of his level of play and his engagement. So glad to see that he was able to find such a big one to open up the game here in the first game of the series. Now, we come back to the State of the Rift. We have Dragon spawning in 45, and while there are some missing summoner spells here from FPX, I think important cooldowns coming off here, especially for JiaQi with that ultimate, that make it so much easier for this low-range, melee-centric composition to work so well.
Like you called out with the low range, JackeyLove, flash right back on cooldown. It's been on cooldown ever since we saw the early lane coming across. So that Lucian is such a pivotal piece to the damage profile for TES. Going to be an automatic threat here for that Cyclone Timbers combination, the headbutt pulverize, whatever comes in, because the low range is going to see that combo drop down onto a lot of members of TES. Right now, though, second Dragon going to be spawning onto the Rift, and IYY alongside Jwei are going to work their way in here. Got to make sure to watch priority of that mid lane. JiaQi's going to swing on over first. As we see a teleport come across Weaver's Wall, they're going to try to cut off Sheer, who does not have flash. Beautifully placed there by Creme. The Unstoppable is going to stop the flip back, but it's still a great pick there for the TES solo lanes as the Dragon is getting taken by Kanavi. So 2 for 1 right there on the bot side for TES, just like that in a flash.
But how many jungle camps can IYY realistically get? He's going to get the Raptors at the very least, maybe the red buff. It's going to be a trade coming in from Top Esports. Look at how they match the side lanes immediately. Care, as soon as he saw this play, he TP's top lane. 369 gets his recall in, buys items, and then matches on the top side of the map here. Scion is going to be under no pressure, and Creme, even without the grubs, he's going to come out like a bandit. He gets 2 plates as alongside that kill. He's feeling very good on the Talia at this moment.
Gold Injection going to get him over towards that first item effortlessly, especially after picking up that kill. Talia, the prime pick here for TES after they saw it not taken away by FPX. One of the critical mid lane B1 picks passed up on, and Creme is looking to make it punish. And like we talked about coming into this match with TES, there is not a lot of excuse time left for Creme, especially in a matchup against FPX. Really needs to show why he was selected as the mid laner of a team. He's looking to do a lot more since the first stand was.
He was the newbie on the block last year. It was him surrounded by players like JackeyLove, Tien, Mako, and 369, so he had to do a lot of learning last year. I think his mage play has definitely leveled up as we've talked about him, but this is the year in my mind, and I think for the rest of the squad, that we need to see him step up and be that consistent carry. We get it sometimes on champions like Azir, which he's famously been kind of lax at playing, but I want to be able to see more consistent Creme games because he is such an impressive player when he has those high highs.
Like we talked about, already getting pretty close to the Seraphs as we see a lot of first items come across. Sundered Sky, pretty expensive Triforce there down for IYY, so gets a pretty big boost to that Wukong that we're looking to try and bridge over some of the damage, because you're still looking at only a Malignant's done on Karis Annie, and that Static Shiv really just for JiaQi to be able to match wave clear prio. It's something 80 carries really need to be bring to the table as we start to shift into the mid game here. Keep an eye on those timers. The Rift Herald is about 40 seconds away, and you can already see both supports making it a priority to set vision back up around that top side as Creme is really starting to take it to care. Timbers has to be used just to block the stones being heralded at his forehead.
What are we doing? I was about to talk about the fact that FPX are so strong in this position. Look at their first item spikes. I know you noted it earlier, but you should never be willing as an opponent team to look across, see a Trinity Force, a Malignant's done, and you're like, oh yeah, I think we win this fight with a Seraphs and a Sundered Sky. That should have been their opportunity, especially with JiaQi fighting with JackeyLove over the mid lane wave. But now him missing this. Timbers is not that long of a cooldown, but you still have to wait for it to die here in this instance, and Herald has now spawned. I think it makes it so much more difficult for FPX to reasonably walk up here without, again, a miracle play happening.
Timbers, yeah, still full health here. There, finally drops off. FPX hopefully make the wise decision here and give over this Herald. They have clear vision on it, but Jwei's walking his way up towards the mid lane. IYY going to finish off the blue buff, but the stun comes off Care, and he immediately gets thrown by a great flick back by Creme. That's flash off the Annie. The Weaver's Wall going to come down. Creme really making sure there's no space for IYY to get in. Jwei's going to fly and gets a flash headbutt, sets up the steal. IYY takes away the Rift Herald, puts the Cyclone down, and Hog has nowhere to run away. They're trying to trade back JackeyLove, but there's nobody else damage-wise that can get through. Kanavi straight off on the back end as a Dog Shadow comes across, but JackeyLove does not get hit by it. So you trade 1-for-1 kills, but again, Jwei with the heroics. He is willing FPX through this mid game.
IYY and Jwei are right now the dynamic duo for this team. Yes, we had hyped up JiaQi as being this really raw mechanical AD carry, but with him taking a step back by playing the Senna, being more supportive for the squad, we are seeing some magic happen here for the Phoenix as they not only get a kill in that trade, they get the Rift Herald at the same time. Even with Care making a few mistakes, maybe he was just a sacrificial lamb coming up through this replay. I mean, who is actually turning onto him from this moment? Yes, you see immediately Kanavi and JackeyLove start to position, but you have Jwei there. And this Weaver Wall is just useless. Look at IYY, he gets to use the E to jump over the wall. It means nothing. So Creme makes a pretty massive mistake, and Top Esports get punished by FPX.
They're lucky to be walking away with the trade of kills. This Dawning Shadow points a little bit differently. JackeyLove probably drops as well. Really starting to feel the shortcomings of this, pun intended, short-range composition right now with the Lucian Talia combo. They are just not able to really punish any of these backline, players, especially like you pointed out with JiaQi, who we talk about the set all the time. You talk about the supportive role, but being able to play kind of a relaxed game in the early stage is setting up JiaQi with his soul count nearing 60 early to be a real threat once a lot of big items come through. But in the present, seeing that dragon taken by TES, FPX not in position to punish this. They're going to try and trade the mid-tier 1 turret. They're dropping the Herald, but there's a better Weaver's Wall coming out here from Creme. So the Herald is stuck in kind of no man's land, and FPX, it's just one good play followed by questionable play over and over again right now.
Okay, I mean, Top Esports now, think about what they've been doing. We did say that FPX, as this game goes longer, it should give them an advantage, especially with this Senna having infinite amount of scaling. But for Top Esports, they've gone all of the dragons. Yes, they did end up falling when it came to the Grubs and the Herald. They haven't been the best so far in this game at being able to control topside objectives. But they have feats of strength, and now with the Dragon Soul, this can give them a potential leg up in trying to close out this game. That Soul is incredibly powerful, that damage amp that they're going to be receiving. So now this 4-minute timer between here and the Dragon coming up, I need to be able to very confidently see Top Esports get some summoner spells out, start to exert their will on this game, because even the turrets haven't fallen. We have no first turrets so far, 18.5 minutes into this game.
Not even a factor in that feats of strength combo, like you talked about, them already going over towards Top Esports, but my attention always drifting towards Jwei. who is constantly looking to be a playmaker here, but that's a greatly timed teleport. Unsealed spellbook diff there from Hong. You can see Jwei was thinking about wrapping around and saw the TP come back from the Braum and shuts down that play. So 6 members walking away from that top side to take their resets, and we officially enter the big race here, all to knock down as many structures as possible, because 19 minutes with all turrets up makes, you know, those vision lines and flank angles a lot wackier than normal.
Yeah, they're pretty tight right now, especially because you only can really get vision in small pockets. You can see right now Top Esports are trying to litter the topside jungle of FPX so they can potentially prevent an Otacon. Spawns in 30 seconds. I don't think Top Esports have the most amount of damage to be able to burst it early, and mostly just wanting to make sure that FPX will not try to hoodwink them on this kind of objective. But look at the items right now. We're talking about when these teams are going to be power spiking, if we're going to be seeing any kind of early action. JiaQi's actually opted for the Black Cleaver rush on the Senna, which I really, really appreciate when you look at the enemy team that he's going to be facing. And this is not what Top Esports are excited about. They're saying, okay, we have Navori Flicker Blades, so JackeyLove essentially has maybe 150 AD at this moment, maybe 100. Like, it's not great. That Flicker Blades is all attack speed.
What's interesting about, you know, talking the game states for these two teams, it feels like this is actually a pocket where, as we talk about FPX playing slow, maybe like to see TES play a bit slow, and on cue, Kanavi going in for a combo, looking for JiaQi, but Jwei going to protect pretty well. Coling going to drop down. Wind becomes lightning. Kanavi wants to go after Jwei, and they do get the Unbreakable Will off of the Alistair as the Otacon spawns. Ultimate advantage gain there. The Coling should be up a lot quicker, level 12 compared to Jwei with that level 8 Alistair.
Most important in my mind right now is not only does it maybe let them play for topside, which I don't think is going to be a real objective, especially as we see the rest of FPX move into this top side, start to get this wave in, but more importantly for me, it does allow for Top Esports to move around the map and have some breathing room. They know that Jwei is going to be back in base. They can move their vision line. We have a minute and a half before that dragon, like we were saying. This is sole potential for Top Esports. And I wonder if they're going to be making a trade, how proactive they're going to be looking, because look at the summoner spells right now. Everything is up, only Jwei missing the heal. Kara's going to be getting teleported in moments here. So game is going to be very even. But FPX, you still have this Senna that is, I think, empowering the rest of this composition. And how close, maybe does Care finish a second item before this objective is really important.
And that's why I'd like to see Top Esports try and avoid a fight at this juncture. You mentioned the items, the points, the summoner advantage. The threat of a Flash Tivers onto this low-range comp is terrifying right now, especially with the Cyclone coming across. And you mentioned how we're basically setting up pretty soon here for Dragon and Otacon to be on the map at the same time. Top Esports, really, I'd like to see them play the map and play for whichever one they prefer now. Would they rather take the Otacon or get an early Soul? It'd be real best in their interest, in my mind, to avoid any sort of fight as both of these neutrals come up around the same time.
FPX, they get priority. We talked about this bot lane matchup as something being early on. JiaQi and Jwei are going to have struggles with getting any kind of push, but especially with the static shiv and with him having 60 stacks at 22 minutes, an amazing feat here for JiaQi. It makes it so much easier and kind of tough for JackeyLove to actually walk up, as he is always afraid of suddenly getting pelted by a Senna auto or two.
I like this stuff from Top Esports. They're surrendering space on this bot side, allowed Creme to get that first turret down. They're going to try and regroup as 5 and work their way through with a very tanky 369, holding the front line at first. But you got to wait for that Tibbers, the Cyclone combo to come across. It's all a bluff, just poking down 369 slowly with the power of that Senna range. They're holding true to the river.
Oh,
the Flash Tibbers comes out from Karen. Creme immediately matches it. Big engage tool comes off the board for FPX as 369 throws himself into the fray. The all-out's going to pull both takes out of this fight here as the stun comes across, keep JiaQi safe, but Kanavi just re-dashes right on top of the Senna. Both backlines are being dove at the same time, but JackeyLove comes up with the kill onto the flashless Creme and gets himself away from Sheer. The Braum concussive blows stack up. JackeyLove, no enough damage, no! IYY drops his support. JackeyLove burns the flash. IYY hunts him down for the triple kill. Saves the fight for FPX. And now we're getting really short range by this point. Jwei having to flash away from Kanavi. Can Kanavi bring it home with the wind becomes lightning. The health bars are so low. The Trickster comes out, but 369 shuts down Sheer, sets up the dive. IYY, your triple kill means Jack Squad. TES's jungle top lane rescue the fight.
And there it is. That's going to be Soul going over to top esports. What an insanely close fight. Multiple ults missing on both sides. JiaQi and JackeyLove getting pressured in 2 separate ways. I can't wait to see the replay of this one because we can really dissect all the different goings on here in this matchup. FPX, a team that we were kind of writing off immediately. The eventuality of this game is still to be determined, whether or not top esports are actually going to be able to overcome some of the great team fights that we've been seeing from FPX. But now they have a Chemtech Soul in their back pocket, and this right here. So 2 separate things that I want to look at. Care, obviously, missing the flash, but he was going to get exhausted before most of this damage came through anyway. What I see from here, now the front lines are gone. 369 gets kidnapped, but he's able to flash over the wall, and Cassante doesn't immediately. This just allows for IYY to just set up claim all over JackeyLove and Creme. This fight being so split is at the advantage of top esports. They do not want to play a standard front to back with a Senna, with an Annie as well, with all of this beefy front line coming in from the other roles. The fact that this got so split up and IYY getting a triple kill is about as good as it's going to get for the Phoenix.
We saw, shout out to the observers there on the replay showing how long JiaQi just baited Kanavi. I'm surprised he got that far up the jungle. Pulling Kanavi away from this fight really saves it for FPX. Even though he's able to pick up these last 2 kills with 369, you gotta think if Kanavi could get that kill 1v1 into a Senna much quicker. That's a bigger wipe there for top esports. But like you mentioned, despite how close the margins are, the big win here for TES, they have a Chemtech Soul in their back pocket at 24 minutes. Now you can kind of just start going through the motions here, all feeling a lot stronger by this point with that Soul. And Otacon has got to be the next target in the minds of TES.
Creme is a full level over his opponent right now. And something that we had talked about as we were going into this series was, yes, the bottom lanes might be a little bit more even than maybe some might expect. The jungle is obviously something that is going to be a bit gapped, as we said, but the solo lanes were where some of the strength maybe was going to come through for FPX. Can Sheer actually get the better? This matchup does not lend credence to that happening, and Care, as we've seen in times past, full level down on his opponent and has really not been able to use this Annie to its fullest.
Saw that great fight combo with IYY towards those grubs. But since then, yep, really need more out of this Annie. The CS are setting up shop in this top river. Coming behind though for Care. He's getting the stun down. Sheer is a double TP. They're going after Creme. Do they have enough damage though? Glacial Fissure comes out. Creme is still surviving, but he'll finally drop with very little value. Now Kanavi, he's stuck in the middle of all of FPX, but he's able to dash out, use Jwei as an exit route, and now Sheer trying to hold the front line. 369 has a lot more health than JackeyLove. Immediate cleanse into the Care snare. That is a beautiful timer from JackeyLove. Finally, this Lucian gets to sing, and TES can front to back their way home. JiaQi doesn't have enough damage. IYY can't get in. Kanavi's diving him under the mid 2-1 turret. All right, slower breaks, TES. We don't want to throw this, but finally he gets JackeyLove with him, and the win becomes lightning at max range. Snipes out IYY. 4-1 kills. Top esports starting to roll in this mid game.
It turns out when the tournament has regular season put in front of it, Kanavi is playing no games. He wants to make sure that he is on point. This is the regular season Kanavi that earned himself an MVP in split number 2. Kanavi doing a great job in this game and is really starting to push the limits despite an early game setback with him not being able to get that crescent guard like we saw. He has been near flawless so far in this game number 1. And now they're going to get themselves the Baron. They're going to move towards Otacon. And this timer for the Baron is going to run right into that Elder, spawning in 2.5.
Can we just soak in for a second, Hulk, that we're going to have an Elder like basically at 30 minutes in this game? That's wild. Yeah, a great point to make. It's wacky game state, but nonetheless, start this fight off. Care, the sheer flank, it just doesn't get the kill quick enough, I feel like, on the Creme.
Oh, for sure. There's no damage. I mean, IYY barely is able to tag him with anything, doesn't hit him with the Cyclone on either charge. And JiaQi, low mana, not in range to deal damage. He wants fights to go long, yes, but look at where the team is. Like, he's supposed to be empowering the Cassante, the Wukong, and that wasn't really able to be happening. And look at 369 right now. Because of the fact that JiaQi is going for Black Cleaver, he's not going to have access to an LDR, to something like an Executioner's Calling. So in terms of the armor penetration, he's doing very, very little damage. And instead of going for Infinity Edge, He has a rapid fire cannon. This is the big crux of the issue, and maybe why they're not actually going to be able to... If this was an Infinity Edge, I for sure believe FPX might have a chance here.
It's a great point, because where else is the damage going to come from? It's way too burst-oriented. With an Annie and a Wukong, 369 is never dying. The only hope is, like we saw in that Dragon fight, for Sheer to try and pull him away from that front line. But even that is going to be a slippery slope, especially with his flash available. The Baron Siege going on as we speak here. The bot tier 2, the target here for TES, going for a 4-1 split. The 369's got to make FPX real wary of holding this tier 2 turret. That is a full culling, nearly taking JiaQi out. He's able to flash over the Weaver's Wall. Senna gets out of the picture. Now FPX surely have to surrender these structures or face an even bigger penalty, because 369, I mean, this guy is taking barely any of his HP down. He's been getting thwacked by all 5 members of FPX for a solid 10 seconds.
Beautiful movement here from Top Esports, playing on 2 lanes with the Baron buff, with Taliyah having ultimate. If they were actually able to tag maybe a little bit more damage, or if Creme really committed to sending the Weaver's Wall, I feel like more of FPX could have gone down here. Jwei trying to find something, only gets 2 knockups right now. They were trying to defend this inhibitor, because as long as it can keep TES on the map, that's 20 seconds before that Elder spawns.
Value for 369, though, just really singing through all of that harass. He doesn't even dip below half his HP bar and even get access to the benefits of that Chemtech Soul. You saw the reset come across, and immediately 2 huge items come across for TES. As 369 wants back into this action. He TPs into a huge flank angle, has the unstoppable onslaught. You can see our observers show FPX have no idea this big, bad furnace of a man is waiting off to the side. Hong and Kanavi can look for a way in. They're going to go right after Kara to drop the timbers defensively, but Kara's exhausted, out of the fight. Because Light doesn't get the kill here, but where is the damage for TES? Kanavi, 369 are surviving and thriving. Finally, Kanavi drops down, but Creme on the flank. Can he find a kill on any priority target? No, he's getting knocked out, thrown in the air, but it doesn't matter, because JackeyLove comes through like a bulldozer to just drop FPX across the line. 3 kills instantly to the star 80 carry for TES, and we might not even need Elder to wrap up this game 1.
369 and the rest of Top Esports, it doesn't look pretty, it doesn't look clean,
fake out,
but they're gonna get it out. Oh my god, Creme!
Why? He just broke Creme's ankles.
I don't think it matters though. This game's over. You have double inhibitors coming on up. The only people alive are IYY and Jwei. Jwei, most notably, does have the smite, so he can clear the minion wave. FPX finally gets some breathing room here. But goddamn, dude, JackeyLove, he has come to play here in split number 3. He's been silent all year long in his performances, but now it feels like this is the year, this is the split where JackeyLove is able to help TES.
Oh no, we're about to see youngsters get schooled. Bit of a welcome to the LPL moment almost went down there for those two. They don't avoid the little death wall that was coming across here, but 369's back to full HP. The Elder is going to be the play here for TES, but Kanavi is markedly taking red buff on the other side of the map here. FPX are making a bit of a desperate play. They're teleporting in. They've got 5 members here strong to at least get control of the
We're starting it. Why are we aggroing this? I guess they don't know. I mean, Creme's coming, but he's really far. There's a numbers advantage here for FPX. They have to be able to get this done now.
Kanavi throws himself in the middle of 2 members. Crescent Guard's going to go down here. We'll get Care on the flank. You need to kill off JackeyLove to have any hope here. Sheer goes all out, drops the stuns. JackeyLove, though, cleanses out of it.
No.
The stuns come across, sure. JackeyLove finally falls. Can FPX try and rescue the fight? No, they just don't have any
damage.
Look
at 369!
Look at 369! He's holding 2-3 members at will on his own. 369 just gobbling up FPX like dinner right now. There's the ace. There's game 1 wrapped up for Top Esports.
TES, you're so damn fine right now. Just being able to make magic work there. It looked a little sloppy, and again, these are some of the questions that we have for Top Esports, but for now, let's give them their praise. Let's give them an applause. They're going to take game 1 versus FPX.
Like you mentioned, Alk, it was a bit shaky in that early game, but they calmed down, redefined their play, come away with a pretty commanding win there. TES win game 1 with Dragon Soul. They got Baron, they got Otacon, and yeah, flex those cards. 369, elite Scion gameplay. We're right back where we picked up on split 2.
God, that's an MVP right there. That's my MVP, 369. I had a lot of doubts. His series so far have not been as dominant as we saw from him in split number 2, but that Scion was near unkillable. It sucks to see because there were a lot of promising moments there coming in from FPX, but again, some of the issues that we've had from this team, even before the swap in the roster, they're not a team that plays the map very well. Sometimes they try to flip objectives, and unfortunately, there's not a ton of firepower coming in from the solo lanes. It feels like the FPX wins that they do get, it comes off of Creme on comfort champions, or him being able to have a massive impact on a champion like Yone.
I will say, though, that early game, I like to see that they still, you mentioned the changes, still have that FPX confidence with layering some of these team fight combos. And that conversation starts with Jwei, but I do want to give credit to IYY being able to follow up carefully as you're being warned by our awesome producer.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you know what?
Sorry.
Yep. Okay. I was getting scared. I thought you were about to do like a rip joke. Remember?
No! I actually really like these cards. They're very nice quality, and my producer's looking at me very mad. So.
Did you ever do that prank when you're in school where you look like you're gonna rip the paper and then you blow on it and it sounds like you're ripping it?
Yeah, I had no friends, so I couldn't do that.
You know what? Next time we're hanging out, I'll pretend like I've never seen it, and you could do the paper prank on me. How about that?
You won't even know my full name, as we discovered in the pre-show. So, anyway, as we were saying, for Top Esports, that was a game where the eventuality of the fact that they controlled all the dragons really saved them, really kept them in the driver's seat for a large majority of it. Something that I think was very interesting, obviously, was some of their objective setups weren't super clean. And to me, that is really worrying as a trend, even up against a team like FPX, because you can get away with this versus a FunPlus Phoenix, versus a team like WE. But you're Top Esports. We have to hold you to a higher bar with the names that you have on this roster and the fact that you've already won a championship and finished top 4 just this split, just this year alone.
Great way to put it, simpler way to put it. I feel like Top Esports, you are not getting away with that type of game ever against anyone's legend, BLG, and then maybe even say JDG, right? If you want to entertain a Weibo and IG. Those teams are the teams that TES need to play confident games against, and that starts by dismantling their opponents like FPX. They do get the win here. They're able to really hone in on their tanky health stacking front line to bring this one home, and like you called out, though, our top damage dealer in the game there, JackeyLove. That Lucian really started to hit once the front line was able to set up properly for it at those later game fights.
JackeyLove has stepped up, I think, in Split 3. He has been a bit quiet on this Top Esports. Even the Draven game that I mentioned earlier wasn't a outstanding, super lane-dominant victory that we saw from them. JackeyLove, I think, has been a bit muted in this team, especially when you look at the composition and how they tend to play. This team is topside focused. You are looking at trying to empower your solo laners, especially a player like Kanavi, who has been one of, if not the best jungler in this league for 6 out of the 7 months of this year in this league. So to see him finally have a meta where I think that JackeyLove is more important and then he's actually able to show off that prowess, fans can start to get excited again for our Top Esports where that is the case, because JackeyLove has almost always been a top performing marksman in the league.
And on the flip side here, for FPX fans, it is a loss, and we do have a lot of questions about the new roster here for Split 3, but one thing that you can get excited about, Jwei on this Alistar, like, if we had to give an MVP to a losing team, he was keeping this team afloat, man, in these fights. The way he started things off, we saw whiff tippers from Care, we saw IYY struggle to get some of these Cyclone combinations down later in the game, but Jwei picking right up where he left off from Split 2. Such an exciting support player here in the FunPlus Phoenix system.
This duo in general, just we were like, okay, FPX now. It's sad to see Awesome and Wink and Awesome and Jwei not really kind of getting that same level of play, but I mean, if this was a Split 2 situation, I feel like the fans could really start to rally behind this potentially being a build-around piece. Kara as the older franchise player, potentially JiaQi now moving on from RNG. There was some potential there. It's Split 3, and games like this are only going to go by and kind of feel worse and worse. It is a double round robin, so it's not the first time we'll see this matchup. But I just wish that maybe we had a little bit more time with this duo. They're going to have, 14 best of 3 series in the season, and then potentially more depending on their playoffs. So yeah, I'm excited for JiaQi and Jwei, but they're up against the clock right now. It's a pretty big timer.
And as we saw, as this game really went into the later phases, their top side really just couldn't compete. You mentioned Kanavi already. Creme, a little bit shaky on his Talia, had his moments, but I think I want to open up these conversations as we roll through the end of these highlights. That we are both on the 369 MVP train. Do I even have to ask you if you're on that train for this game?
I really want 369. I have a feeling JackeyLove, almost rightfully so in my mind, does deserve some kind of shout. If he does get it, I'm not mad. He performed really, really well this game. Something that I noticed in the lane that we didn't get to talk about is one of the reasons why this bottom lane kind of got off to a good start for FPX is Hung actually wasn't landing very many concussive blows. There's Qs where the Winter's Brights weren't going out and landing onto a player like Jwei, onto JiaQi. So the fact that they weren't able to get more damage, I think, is more an indictment on his support than necessarily our AD carry here for top esports.
I'm with you because you pick the Braum to be such a great facilitator for the Lucian in lane. It didn't really work out. And yeah, I can't get mad at JackeyLove.